is an organizer at RI Jobs with Justice. Is it Z? Z has fought alongside DARE and PRISM to implement the Community Safety Act here in Providence. Is fighting a fight that is still ongoing. Z also writes and performs poetry, exploring the experience of being a Black trans woman in a post-racial and potentially post-apocalyptic America. Please welcome Justice Gay.
Hello, thank you all for having me. I want to first say that I'm speaking as an individual and as a Black trans woman that's been honored and shaped by the experience of working with Rhode Island Jobs with Justice, DARE, Direct Action for Rights and Equality, and PRISM, Providence Youth Student Movement. I have a lot of things to talk to you about today. The first being the Community Safety Act. The Community Safety Act was a police accountability ordinance that was passed in June of last year. It came into effect January of this year for the city of Providence. It does things such as make sure I as a trans woman have the right to be searched by a police officer of a gender I'm comfortable with. It makes sure that youth's records aren't kept on file for longer than they're supposed to be. It ensures that our city isn't working with ICE to cooperate to deport our community members. And it also puts restrictions on the gang database that the Providence Police Department shouldn't have in the first place. Now, with the Community Safety Act, I have two asks for you. Part of the Community Safety Act is making sure the Providence External Review Authority continues to have the power to investigate the police independently of the police. If you have a problem, you shouldn't be the one telling us what your problem was. So we want to make sure Providence External Review Authority keeps that power, and we have to hold our city council accountable to following the law that is already in place. We also want to make sure that the Providence Police Department upholds its obligations and its commitments last year to make sure that the gang database follows the requirements that are set aside in the City of Providence's law with the Community Safety Act. So if you are in the City of Providence, I need you to make sure your city councilors know you support PARA and you support the Community Safety Act as they stand. Rhode Island Jobs with Justice on Thursday also announced our new campaign called Rhode Care. We will be fighting to make sure that people have a subsidized fund that they can tap into for childcare and for elderly care. So if you have children who you need daycare for, you shouldn't have to choose between going to work and taking care of your children. If you have a sick parent, you shouldn't have to choose how you're going to get your child to school because you can't make sure someone is taking care of them either at home or in a daycare center. So as the Rhode Care campaign continues to check off, I just ask that you support because everyone either was young or hopefully will be old. And we need to make sure we're taking care of all of our members, all of our community, whether they're the youngest folks or the oldest folks in our state. Now, I was invited here to speak to you about women of color and LGBTQ issues. However, I don't actually know what that is. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you're fighting for women's issues and you have not thought about women of color, if you have not thought about queer women, if you have not thought about trans women, you are not fighting for women. There is not a single issue that does not affect women of color and trans women that you can talk about without them. There is not a single human rights or women's rights issue that you can talk about without women of color and trans women. I want to make that very clear. Now, as we have these conversations, I need you to know it's not just this commitment of inclusion, it's a commitment to figure out what exactly are those needs. Now, when the domestic violence gun law was passed last year, it exempted police officers. 40% of police officers are found guilty of domestic violence. If you left those women out, you're not fighting for women. When you leave sex workers out of this conversation, you're not fighting for women. When you leave homeless women out of this conversation, you're not fighting for women. And so as we go through, I see a whole lot of signs about Trump. This isn't about just Trump. These fights have been going on long before Trump and will be going on long after. regardless of who won the election last year, I would still have to be doing all of these campaigns because our country is systematically oppressing women of color, trans women, people of color in general, disabled women, sex workers, homeless people. We have to make sure that this isn't just about politics. Voting can be part of your resistance, but voting is not your whole resistance. And until you understand that, you are not fighting for women's rights. So I ask you to make the commitment to do more than just worrying about the politics and also worry about the action on the ground and all of those people who aren't at that this rally right now. Thank you.